Hey guys, tonight we're going to talk about a job that, honestly, would make your average high-stress corporate executive look like they're on a permanent vacation. We're heading back, way back, to a time before GPS or even reliable paved roads, to the misty, ancient lands of Celtic Europe. Imagine a world where the forests are alive with unseen spirits, where the rivers hold the secrets of the gods, and where your entire community looks to you for everything from legal advice to predicting the future. This isn't just about wearing a cool robe and having a gnarly beard. This is about a life of immense power, terrifying responsibility, and often a brutal, brutal end. If you think your boss is demanding, just wait until you meet the ancient gods of the Celts. You probably wouldn't last a day. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And seriously, if you're listening to this, drop your location and what time it is for you in the comments below. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are a young person, barely past childhood, living in a small, close-knit Celtic village nestled deep within the rolling hills and dense forests of what we'd now call, say, the Appalachian Mountains, if the Appalachians were populated by ancient tribes and whispered with forgotten magic. Your life, up to this point, has been one of familiar rhythms, the rising sun painting the mist over the oaks, the scent of wood smoke from the hearth, the communal work of the fields, the raucous laughter of festivals. You know the faces of your kin, the tales spun by the elders, the taste of wild berries picked from the thorny bushes. Your world is tribal, interconnected, and deeply rooted in the land. But then, one crisp autumn morning, a shadow falls across your path. Not a literal shadow, but the looming, enigmatic presence of the Druid. You see them often, these figures. They are the elders, the teachers, the judges, the conduits to the unseen world. They wear simple, undyed woolens, often adorned with symbolic carvings of oak leaves or swirling spirals. Their eyes, however, are what truly strike you, ancient, wise, and somehow always seeing more than what is simply there. They carry a staff of gnarled oak, and their presence commands an unspoken reverence from everyone, from the fiercest warrior to the humblest farmer. On this particular morning, as you are helping to gather fallen branches for firewood, one of the elder Druids approaches you. His name is Bran, and his hair is as white as the winter snow. His face a roadmap of countless seasons and endless wisdom. He doesn't speak directly to you at first, but merely observes you, his gaze piercing, as if looking into the very depths of your soul. You feel a prickle of unease, a strange mix of fear and an almost magnetic pull. You've heard the whispers, of course, the legends of how Druids choose their apprentices. It's not always by birthright. Sometimes it's a calling, a recognition of an inherent spark. Bran finally speaks, his voice a low rumble, like the distant thunder of a summer storm. The spirits of the ancient oaks have whispered your name. Young one, he says, his eyes fixed on yours. The rivers sing of your potential. The path of the Druid is arduous, fraught with peril, and demands a sacrifice beyond measure. But the calling is clear. Will you answer? Your heart pounds in your chest, a frantic drum against your ribs. This isn't just an offer, it's a summons. To refuse a Druid's calling is almost unthinkable, an affront to the gods themselves, a rejection of destiny. You glance at your family, standing silently nearby. Their faces a mixture of pride, sorrow, and a deep understanding. They know what this means. Your life, as you know it, is about to end. You will be leaving your family, your village, everything familiar. You will become a student of the sacred, a child of the wild. You take a deep breath, the scent of damp earth and wood smoke filling your lungs. I will answer, Elder Bran. You reply, your voice a barely audible whisper, and just like that, your journey begins. You are led away from your village, away from the familiar rhythms of your life, into the depths of the sacred forest. This isn't a place of simple trees. It's a living, breathing sanctuary, where ancient oaks stand like silent sentinels, their branches reaching towards the sky, their roots plunging deep into the earth. The air here is different, cooler, imbued with a subtle energy that makes the hairs on your arms stand on end. You can almost hear the trees breathing, the whispers of the wind carrying ancient secrets. Your new home is not a comfortable hut, but a rough-hewn dwelling deep within the forest, part of a small, secluded encampment of other young apprentices and elder druids. It's Spartan, devoid of comfort, designed to focus the mind and harden the spirit. Your days are no longer filled with the familiar chores of village life, but with a relentless regimen of learning, memorization, and physical hardship. This historical fact of Druidic training, being a prolonged oral tradition, is a cornerstone of our understanding of them. It wasn't about books. It was about internalizing vast amounts of knowledge. The training is brutal. You wake before dawn, the chill of the forest air biting at your exposed skin. Your first task is meditation, focusing your mind amidst the distractions of the waking forest, the rustle of leaves, the chirping of birds, the distant howl of a wolf. This isn't about sitting cross-legged. It's about deep connection, about attuning your senses to the subtle energies of the natural world. You learn to listen to the wind, to understand the language of the birds, to interpret the shifting patterns of light and shadow. Then comes the memorization. Oh, the memorization. This is the bedrock of Druidic knowledge, for they write nothing down. Every law, every ritual, every prophecy, every piece of tribal history, every medicinal herb, every astronomical observation. It all exists solely in the minds of the Druids. You are tasked with learning vast tracts of oral tradition, reciting them flawlessly, day after day, week after week, year after year. It's like having to memorize an entire library, word for word, without a single note. The elder Druids are relentless, demanding absolute precision, for a single misremembered word could alter a sacred ritual or invalidate a legal judgment. You spend hours, sometimes entire days, reciting epic poems that tell the history of your people, their triumphs and their tragedies. You learn the intricate genealogies of kings and chieftains, stretching back generations. You memorize complex legal codes that govern every aspect of tribal life, from disputes over livestock to matters of honor and vengeance. You learn the properties of every plant, every berry, every mushroom in the forest, which ones heal, which ones poison, which ones induce visions, and you learn the names and attributes of every god and goddess in the vast Celtic pantheon, their myths, their domains, their favored offerings. It's like being forced to cram for the most important multi-subject exam of your life, every single day for 2 decades. And if you fail, well, you don't fail. You simply don't become a druid. The physical training is equally demanding. You learn to navigate the forest blindfolded, relying solely on your other senses. You endure long fasts, testing your endurance and mental fortitude. You are taught how to move silently through the undergrowth, how to track animals, how to identify edible plants and poisonous ones. You learn the subtle art of reading the weather from the clouds, the wind, and the behavior of animals. It's a harsh, unforgiving regimen, designed to strip away weakness and forge an unbreakable connection to the natural world. The anxiety of this life is a constant companion. The anxiety of remembering, of reciting perfectly, of not shaming your elders or failing the gods. The anxiety of understanding, of interpreting the subtle signs of nature, of discerning the true meaning behind a cryptic prophecy. The pressure is immense, a constant weight on your young shoulders. There's no room for error, no second chances. You are shaping your mind to become a living repository of your people's most sacred knowledge. One particularly harsh winter, you are tasked with memorizing a vast section of astronomical lore, the movements of the stars, the phases of the moon, the cycles of the sun. It's crucial for determining the timing of festivals, agricultural cycles, and even the auspicious moments for battle. The elder druid overseeing this task, an unyielding woman named Maeve, demands that you observe the night sky for weeks without aid, and then recite every constellation, every planet, every celestial event, along with the associated prophecies. You spend frigid nights wrapped in rough blankets, your teeth chattering, your eyes strained, trying to burn the patterns of the stars into your mind. When you finally recite it flawlessly, hours later, your voice hoarse from the cold, Maeve simply nods, a rare flicker of approval in her eyes. The relief is profound, a momentary respite from the gnawing pressure. You learn that the training period can last for up to 20 years. Think about that. 20 years of constant study, memorization, and spiritual discipline, all without the aid of writing. This unique detail truly sets the Druids apart from many other ancient priestly classes. Imagine trying to get a college degree that lasted 2 decades and required you to perfectly recall every single lecture and textbook word for word. Now, that's what I call a syllabus. Historians still debate the exact length and uniformity of Druidic training, as accounts are often vague and filtered through Roman perspectives. Some argue it varied significantly depending on the individual and the specific Druidic college. Your teachers, the elder Druids, are not just instructors. They are living embodiments of the knowledge you seek to acquire. They are stern, demanding, but also possess a deep, quiet wisdom. They teach you not just facts, but ways of seeing, ways of understanding the interconnectedness of all things. They speak of the spirits that dwell in the trees, in the rivers, in the stones. They show you how to interpret the flight of birds, the patterns of animal migrations, the shifting moods of the weather as messages from the divine. You begin to understand the immense responsibility that awaits you. A druid is not just a priest. They are a living bridge between the human world and the divine. They are the guardians of tradition, the interpreters of omens, the keepers of justice. They hold sway over matters of war and peace, life and death. The burden of this future role weighs heavily upon you, even as a young apprentice. One particularly grueling lesson involves learning the properties of various toxins and their antidotes. You are taught which plants, when combined in specific ways, can bring about a peaceful sleep, and which can bring about a painful death. You learn the delicate balance, the precise measurements, the subtle signs of a body under their influence. This isn't just academic knowledge, it's practical, deadly important. You're handling substances that could kill a person, learning how to wield that power responsibly or irresponsibly. If you were so inclined, the anxiety of mixing a fatal potion by mistake or misdiagnosing a crucial ailment constantly looms. You witness ceremonies, sacred rites performed in ancient clearings beneath towering oaks. You see the elder druids invoke the names of the gods, their voices resonating with power, the very air seeming to thicken with unseen presences. You see offerings made, not always of gold or precious stones, but of the fruits of the harvest, the blood of sacrifices, the very life force of the community. You begin to feel the raw, untamed power of the Celtic spiritual world, a power that demands respect and sometimes a terrifying price. The isolation of your training is profound. You are separated from your family, from the comfort of your village. Your companions are other apprentices, equally dedicated, equally burdened by the immense challenge. You form bonds with them, forged in shared hardship and the silent understanding of your unique path. But ultimately, the journey of knowledge is a solitary one, fought within the confines of your own mind. You carry the weight of generations of oral tradition and the terrifying responsibility of becoming its next living vessel. As the years pass, the endless memorization, the physical discipline, the spiritual immersion, slowly but surely transform you. The young person who entered the sacred forest, wide-eyed and terrified, is gradually replaced by someone else. Your mind becomes a vast repository of knowledge, your body hardened, your senses acutely attuned to the subtle energies of the world. You begin to grasp the intricate tapestry of Celtic belief, the interconnectedness of gods, nature, and humanity. You understand the profound responsibility of holding such power, of being a druid, and with that understanding comes a deeper, more refined anxiety, the anxiety of wielding that power justly, wisely, and always in harmony with the will of the gods and the needs of your people. The journey is far from over, but the foundations of your brutal responsibility have been laid. The years of rigorous training blur into a relentless cycle of sunrise meditations, endless recitations, and the biting cold of countless nights spent under the watchful eyes of the stars. You are no longer the wide-eyed child plucked from the village. Your body is leaner, hardened by the elements and the demanding physical regimen. Your mind, once a simple vessel, is now a vast, intricate library of Celtic lore, a living testament to the sheer power of oral tradition. The scent of damp earth, mistletoe, and ancient oak bark has replaced the wood smoke of your childhood home. The anxiety, once a paralyzing fear of failure, has matured into a deep-seated apprehension of the immense responsibility that now settles upon your shoulders. You are nearing the end of your apprenticeship, and the true weight of being a druid is beginning to press down upon you. You've learned the intricate legal codes that govern every facet of tribal life, from the precise compensation for a stolen pig to the complex honor debt for a blood feud. You can recite, word for word, the lineage of every chieftain in your confederation, tracing their ancestry back to mythical heroes and gods. You can identify every herb, every root, every fungus in the sprawling forest, knowing which to harvest for healing, which for vision quests, and which, if misused, could send a man to the spirit world. You understand the language of the winds, the subtle shifts in the clouds that foretell a coming storm, the calls of birds that signal a change in the hunt. This encyclopedic knowledge, all held within your mind, is your power, but also your heaviest burden. One of the most profound aspects of your training involves the sacred grove. These aren't just collections of trees. They are living temples, hallowed spaces where the veil between the worlds is thinnest. Within these groves, often centered around ancient, towering oaks or venerable standing stones, you learn to connect with the spirits of the land, to feel the pulse of the earth beneath your bare feet. You learn the specific rituals for invoking the various gods and goddesses, the fearsome Tyrannus, god of thunder, whose rage could shatter a forest, the benevolent Brigid, goddess of healing and poetry, or the mysterious Cernunnos, the horned god of nature and fertility. The air in these groves often feels electric, charged with an unseen energy that can make the hairs on your arms stand on end. The rituals themselves are complex, demanding absolute precision. Every gesture, every incantation, every offering must be perfect. A misspoken word, a misplaced offering, could offend the gods, bringing ill fortune upon the entire tribe. You practice these rituals endlessly, first in solitary meditation, then under the watchful eyes of the elder Druids. The pressure to perform flawlessly is immense, for the well-being of your people literally depends on your spiritual connection. You learn the art of prophecy, not as a parlor trick, but as a solemn responsibility. This involves interpreting omens from the flight of birds, the patterns of smoke from a sacred fire, or the movements of animals. Sometimes, it involves peering into the entrails of sacrificed animals, a practice that, while gruesome, is carried out with a grim reverence. You learn to discern the subtle messages, to piece together fragmented visions, and to present them to your chieftains in a way that is both clear and appropriately ambiguous, for the future is rarely a straight path. This popular historical fact of Druidic prophecy and augury being central to their role is well documented by Roman sources, though often exaggerated. The psychological toll of this constant immersion in the supernatural is significant. You spend so much time contemplating the unseen, interpreting the inexplicable, that the line between the mundane and the magical begins to blur. You start to see patterns where others see only chaos, to hear whispers where others hear only the wind. This heightened perception, while essential for your role, can also be deeply unsettling, leaving you feeling perpetually adrift from the ordinary world. Your instruction in healing is equally rigorous. You learn not only the medicinal properties of plants, but also the intricate knowledge of the human body, its humors, its ailments. You learn to set broken bones, to staunch bleeding, to concoct poultices and infusions. But more than that, you learn the spiritual dimension of healing, believing that many illnesses are caused by spiritual imbalance or the displeasure of the gods. Your treatments often involve not just herbs, but incantations, blessings, and appeals to the healing deities. This unique detail of Druids, blending practical medicine with spiritual healing, highlights their holistic approach to well-being, where mind, body, and spirit were intrinsically linked. Imagine a doctor also being your spiritual guide, your therapist, and your pharmacist, all rolled into one. It's a lot to juggle, even today. Historians still debate the efficacy of specific Druidic medical practices, often relying on comparisons with contemporary Roman and Greek medical texts. One of the most challenging aspects of your legal training is learning to mediate disputes between warring clans or individuals. Your word, as a Druid, is law. You are seen as impartial, guided by divine wisdom and ancient precedent. You travel between tribal lands, sometimes through dangerous, contested territories, carrying only your staff and your authority. You listen patiently to grievances, weigh evidence, and deliver judgments that are binding. Even for chieftains and kings, the power you wield is immense, but so is the potential for alienating powerful figures. A wrong judgment could ignite a blood feud, shatter alliances, or even lead to your own demise if a losing party refused to accept your decree. The anxiety of delivering a truly unpopular but necessary judgment constantly hangs over you. You recall one particularly brutal case. Two powerful families, their lands bordering a crucial river, were locked in a dispute over fishing rights. Generations of simmering resentment had finally boiled over into open skirmishes, costing lives on both sides. You were sent, still relatively young in your training, to mediate. You spent days listening to endless testimonies, sifting through layers of accusation and counter-accusation. You walked the riverbanks, observing the flow, the fishing spots, the ancestral markers. You invoked the spirits of the river, seeking divine guidance. Your final judgment, though unpopular with both sides initially, was rooted in ancient law and a pragmatic understanding of the river's ecological balance. You allocated specific fishing grounds based on ancestral claims and rotational periods. It wasn't about choosing a winner, but about re-establishing balance. The relief when both chieftains, after much grumbling, finally accepted your ruling was profound, a testament to the power of Druidic authority. The weight of advising chieftains on matters of war and peace is another heavy burden. You are expected to interpret omens before battle, to advise on strategic timing, to bless the warriors, and to perform rituals that ensure victory. If a battle is lost, even if it's due to the chieftain's poor leadership, a part of the blame, however subtly, will fall upon the druid who advised them. This public scrutiny, this direct link to the success or failure of your tribe, is a constant source of anxiety. You are not just a spiritual guide. You are an integral part of the tribal leadership, often more influential than the chieftain themselves. You also learn the importance of oral history, of keeping the narratives of your people alive. You spend countless hours listening to the elders, absorbing their stories, their songs, their epic tales. You learn the importance of storytelling, of weaving narratives that both entertain and instruct, preserving the collective memory of your tribe. This is how knowledge is passed down, generation after generation, without a single written word. It's a powerful yet fragile system, entirely reliant on the perfect memory and consistent retelling by each successive generation of druids. The concept of gyasa, personal taboos or prohibitions, is another fascinating aspect of your learning. These are sacred vows or curses, often self-imposed or laid upon an individual by a druid, that dictate certain behaviors. Breaking a gyas could lead to terrible misfortune or even death. You learn how to identify gyasa, how they are formed, and how they impact the lives of individuals and the community. This academic point of contention often surrounds the precise nature and enforcement of gyasa, with scholars debating whether they were strict legal obligations or more flexible social and spiritual guidelines. As your apprenticeship draws to a close, you undergo a series of final, grueling tests. You are sent into the deepest, most remote parts of the forest for days, alone, to survive and to connect with the spirits of the wild. You are challenged with complex legal dilemmas, demanding immediate and impartial judgments. You are tested on your knowledge of every herb, every constellation, every sacred ritual. The pressure is immense, the stakes incredibly high. Your future, and indeed the future of your community, depends on your flawless performance. Finally, the day of your initiation arrives. You stand before the elder druids, your head bowed, your heart filled with a mixture of reverence and trepidation. The ceremony takes place in the heart of the most sacred oak grove, the ancient trees standing silent witness. The air crackles with energy. You take solemn vows, binding yourself to the gods, to your people, and to the rigorous path of the druid. Your hands are stained with the sap of the sacred oak, a symbol of your connection to the living world. You drink a potent ceremonial brew, its earthy taste filling your mouth, its subtle effect on your mind reinforcing your connection to the spiritual realm. You are no longer an apprentice, you are a druid. The weight of your newfound status is almost physical. You are now a guardian of the sacred, a dispenser of justice, a healer of bodies and souls, a conduit to the divine. The immense power and the equally immense responsibility settle upon you, a permanent mantle. The anxiety, now a deep-seated hum, will always be there, a reminder of the brutal demands of your chosen path. You are a bridge between worlds, and the balance of your tribe now rests, in no small part, upon your shoulders. The air in the sacred grove, usually thick with the scent of oak and mistletoe, now carries the sharp tang of wood smoke and the metallic whisper of cold steel. You are no longer just a student of ancient lore. You are a fully initiated druid, a vital pillar of your community. Your hands, once accustomed to grasping only scrolls and herbs, now grasp the heavy oak staff that signifies your authority. The power you wield is immense. You are the judge, the healer, the spiritual guide, the living memory of your people. But with that power comes a brutal, ever-present responsibility, and a new kind of anxiety, the weight of life and death, of guiding your tribe through an increasingly perilous world. Your days are a relentless cycle of duties. Before dawn, you might be in the sacred grove, interpreting the dreams of a chieftain, seeking omens in the flight of a raven, or overseeing a blessing for a new hunt. You are the first to rise, for the gods speak most clearly in the liminal hours between night and day. The chill of the pre-dawn air, the dew on the grass beneath your bare feet, the silence broken only by the whispers of the wind through the ancient oaks. These are the moments when you feel most connected, most powerful, but also most vulnerable, for the raw energy of the spirit world is both exhilarating and terrifying. As the sun rises, your duties shift to the heart of the village. You might be called upon to mediate a land dispute between two families, their voices rising in anger, their claims rooted in generations of oral tradition that only you can truly interpret. You listen patiently, weighing their words against the ancient laws etched into your mind. Your judgment, once delivered, is absolute, carrying the weight of both legal precedent and divine will. No chieftain, no warrior, dares defy a druid's decree. The anxiety here is subtle, the fear of misinterpreting a crucial nuance, of delivering a judgment that, though legally sound, could fester into future resentment. You are not just a judge, you are the living embodiment of justice, and the peace of your community rests on your wisdom. Then comes the role of the healer, a child burning with fever, a warrior with a broken bone, an elder plagued by the creeping malaise of age. They all turn to you. You concoct poultices from crushed herbs, prepare infusions from bitter roots, and perform intricate blessings, invoking the healing spirits of Brigid. You understand the subtle language of the body, the signs of illness, the methods of soothing pain, but you also know that sometimes, even with all your knowledge, the spirits are unwilling or the injury too grave. The anxiety of seeing someone suffer, of knowing you hold their very life in your hands, is a constant, gnawing burden. You must appear confident, reassuring, even when doubt creeps into your own mind. It's a profound weight, knowing you are often their last hope. Perhaps the most public, and often most terrifying, aspect of your duty is your role in tribal rituals. These are not merely symbolic gestures. They are vital acts of communion with the gods, designed to ensure bountiful harvests, successful hunts, and victory in battle. You lead the ceremonies in the sacred grove, your voice resonating through the trees as you chant ancient incantations. You guide the tribe through the solemn rites, overseeing offerings, sometimes of grain and mead, sometimes of captured animals, and yes, sometimes of human sacrifice. The practice of human sacrifice, primarily of prisoners of war or condemned criminals, is a brutal reality of your world. It is not done with malice, but with a grim solemnity, seen as a necessary offering to appease the more fearsome gods, to ensure the survival of the tribe. You stand as the conduit, the one who delivers the life force to the deities, the one who looks into the eyes of the condemned. This popular historical fact of Druids overseeing human sacrifice, though often exaggerated by Roman writers, is mentioned in various ancient accounts. It's a dark side of their religious practice that truly highlights the brutal responsibility of their role. You recall one such grim ceremony held to ensure victory against a neighboring, raiding tribe. A captured warrior, his face defiant, stood before you in the sacred clearing, The air was thick with the scent of pine and the nervous anticipation of the gathered tribe. You performed the ancient rites, your voice steady, your hands precise as you wielded the ceremonial blade. You looked into his eyes, seeing not just a captive, but a soul being offered to the hungry gods. It was a moment of profound spiritual connection and horrifying moral weight. When it was done, the silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the rustling of leaves in the wind. The tribe looked to you, their faces filled with a mixture of awe and fear. You had done your duty. The anxiety of taking a life, even as a sacred act, lingers long after the blood has dried. Beyond these direct responsibilities, you are also the tribe's primary advisor, its living encyclopedia of knowledge. Chieftains consult you on matters of war and diplomacy, seeking your insights into omens, your interpretations of ancient prophecies. Warriors seek your blessings before battle. Farmers ask your advice on the best time to sow their crops. Young lovers seek your guidance on auspicious pairings. You are the wellspring of wisdom, and your words carry immense weight. The pressure to always be right, to always provide the best counsel, is a constant burden. Historians still debate the precise balance of power between druids and chieftains, with some arguing druids held ultimate authority, while others suggest a more symbiotic relationship. Your connection to the natural world is not just philosophical, it's deeply practical. You spend countless hours walking the forests, observing the subtle changes in the seasons, feeling the pulse of the earth. You can read the stories etched in the bark of ancient trees, the flow of a river, the shifting patterns of the clouds. You believe that the spirits of nature, the dryads of the oaks, the undine of the rivers, the gnomes of the earth, all communicate through these signs, and it is your duty to interpret them for your people. This unique detail of the Druidic belief in the direct, communicative presence of nature spirits underscores their animistic worldview, where every aspect of the natural world held spiritual significance. It's like having a constant, complex conversation with the entire ecosystem. You also hold the knowledge of astronomy and calendar keeping. Without written records, you are the living almanac, tracking the cycles of the moon and stars to determine the precise timing of festivals, planting seasons, and even military campaigns. You spend clear nights studying the constellations, their ancient names echoing in your mind, their movements a celestial dance of divine will. The accuracy of your predictions directly impacts the success of the harvest, the prosperity of the tribe, and the very rhythm of their lives. A miscalculation could lead to famine or missed opportunities, a brutal responsibility you carry with every gaze at the night sky. The spiritual warfare you engage in is subtle but constant. You ward off malevolent spirits, purify cursed lands, and offer blessings against ill fortune. You are the spiritual defender of your tribe, standing between them and the unseen dangers of the supernatural world. This often involves solitary rituals, performed in the depths of the night, in places of ancient power, where the line between courage and terror blurs. You carry the collective memory of your people within your mind, the epic sagas of your ancestors, the triumphs and tragedies, the ancient alliances and bitter feuds. All of it is entrusted to your flawless memory. During long winter nights, by the flickering firelight, you recount these tales, your voice weaving magic as you bring the past to life for the next generation. It's not just entertainment, it's instruction, history, and a powerful tool for maintaining tribal identity and cohesion. The anxiety of preserving this vast oral tradition, of ensuring every word is remembered and passed down perfectly, is a quiet, persistent hum in your mind. The isolation of your position is profound. While you are deeply connected to your community, you are also set apart. You cannot truly share your burdens, your fears, or the weight of your decisions with anyone, even your fellow druids. while sharing your path, are ultimately separate individuals, each grappling with their own immense responsibilities. You are a solitary figure at the heart of the tribe, relied upon by all, yet truly understood by none. This loneliness is a brutal aspect of your life. One day, a warrior comes to you, his face etched with a mix of grief and fury. His brother has been slain in a sudden, brutal raid by a rival clan. He demands vengeance, a blood feud, citing ancient laws of retribution. You listen to his impassioned plea, feeling the raw edge of his pain, but you also know the devastating cycle of vengeance, how it can consume entire generations, weakening the tribe against external threats. You must weigh the demands of justice against the larger well-being of the community. You consult the spirits, the ancient laws, your own deep well of wisdom. Your judgment will not be easy, for it will inevitably displease someone. The brutal responsibility of this kind of moral arbitration is a constant pressure, a tight knot in your gut. As you conclude your daily duties, the sun dipping below the horizon, casting long, purple shadows across the forest, you make your way back to your humble dwelling within the sacred grove. The sounds of the village, the laughter of children, the lowing of cattle, fade into the distance. Here, in the quiet solitude of the ancient trees, you prepare for the night's celestial observations, for the dreams that might bring prophecies, for the silent communion with the gods. The life of a druid is not one of serene contemplation or detached wisdom. It is a life of relentless duty, immense power, and constant brutal responsibility. You are the guardian of your people's past, present, and future, the living bridge to the divine. And with every passing day, with every decision, with every sacred ritual, you feel the weight of that responsibility pressing down, a never-ending source of quiet, profound anxiety. The peace of the sacred grove, usually a balm to your burdened spirit, is now a fragile illusion. Whispers of a new threat ripple through the land, carried on the wind, far more terrifying than any local dispute or ancient curse. The Roman legions. You've heard the tales from distant traders and weary travelers, disciplined soldiers, impenetrable formations. An empire built on conquest and concrete, utterly alien to the wild, free spirit of the Celtic lands. The responsibility you carry, once focused on internal tribal harmony, now expands to encompass the survival of your entire people against an encroaching, relentless tide. This new anxiety is colder, sharper, a dread born of impending, existential conflict. Your position as druid grants you a unique, albeit terrifying, vantage point. You are the first to hear the rumors, to interpret the subtle omens that foreshadow this coming storm. The deer in the forest are more skittish, the flights of ravens more erratic, the dreams of the elders more troubled. You spend long hours in the sacred groves, appealing to the gods, seeking guidance from the ancient oaks. But even the spirits seem restless, their whispers filled with an unfamiliar uncertainty. The very fabric of your world feels as if it is about to be rent apart. You begin to notice changes in the behavior of your own chieftains. The fierce, independent leaders who once sought your counsel on matters of honor and retribution now look to you with a new kind of desperation. Their bravado tinged with an unfamiliar fear, they send out scouts. Desperate for more information about the advancing Roman forces, you, as the druid, become the central intelligence hub, sifting through fragmented reports, trying to piece together the enemy's strength, their intentions, their terrifyingly efficient methods. One common historical fact that you are acutely aware of is the Roman disdain for druidic practices. The Romans, with their highly structured religion and codified laws, saw the Druids' oral traditions, their animistic beliefs, and especially their human sacrifices as barbaric and a direct threat to their own imperial authority. This fundamental clash of worldviews makes the coming conflict not just a military one, but a spiritual and cultural one, where your very existence and the existence of your entire way of life is at stake. They will not merely conquer, they will seek to eradicate your identity. You gather the elders, the chieftains, and the most respected warriors in the heart of the great council hall, a vast, circular structure built from timber and wattle. The air is thick with tension. You stand before them, your oak staff held firmly, your voice resonating with authority, even as your heart pounds with dread. You speak of the Roman advance, of their disciplined legions, of their insatiable hunger for land and resources. You describe their siege engines, their military precision, their complete lack of reverence for the natural world or the ancient spirits. You are painting a picture of an enemy unlike any your people have ever faced. Your advice is sought on military strategy, on the timing of engagements, on the blessings needed for victory. You interpret the omens, discerning patterns in the flight of hawks, the whispers of the wind, and even the unsettling silence of the usually vibrant forest. But this time, the omens are murky, conflicting. The gods themselves seem divided, or perhaps simply unwilling to reveal the brutal truth. The anxiety of providing counsel when the future is so uncertain, when the stakes are so high, is a crushing weight. A wrong interpretation, a miscalculated blessing, could lead to the slaughter of your people. One particular, unique detail about the Roman approach weighs heavily on your mind: their practice of building permanent roads and forts wherever they conquered. This wasn't just about military logistics. It was about imposing their order, their control, on the very land. It was a tangible manifestation of their disdain for the wild, untamed nature that you, as a Druid, hold sacred. Imagine seeing concrete roads cut through your ancient forests, fortresses built on your sacred hills. It's a physical wound on the land and on your soul. This relentless, methodical transformation of the landscape is a terrifying symbol of their intent to erase your world. Scholars still debate the precise psychological impact of Roman infrastructure on indigenous Celtic populations, with some arguing it was a clear symbol of oppression, while others point to certain economic benefits. You organize sacred rituals, desperate appeals to the gods for strength and guidance. You lead the tribe in offerings, pouring mead onto the roots of the sacred oaks, offering prayers to the fierce war deities. You bless the warriors, painting their faces with woad, reciting ancient battle incantations, filling them with the courage and ferocity of their ancestors. You know that courage alone may not be enough against the Roman war machine, but it is all you have to offer. The weight of knowing that many of these brave faces will soon be lost to the Roman sword is a constant, gnawing pain in your heart. The first skirmishes are swift and brutal. Your warriors, fierce and cunning, are masters of guerrilla warfare, ambushing Roman scouting parties in the dense forests, melting back into the trees before the legions can retaliate. You interpret the victories and defeats, offering spiritual guidance, tending to the wounded with healing herbs and ancient blessings. You see the raw courage of your people, their unyielding spirit, and it fills you with a fierce pride, even as your anxiety grows. But the Romans are relentless. They do not give up. They adapt. They learn. Their numbers seem endless, their discipline unshakable. They begin to clear paths through the dense forests, building temporary camps, pushing relentlessly deeper into your lands. The scent of pine and damp earth is slowly being replaced by the acrid smell of Roman campfires and the distant, chilling clang of their engineering tools. You find yourself increasingly drawn to the ancient, secluded places of power, hidden caves, forgotten springs, the most ancient of the sacred groves. Here, You perform solitary rituals, seeking deeper insights, desperately searching for a way to turn the tide. You communicate with the spirits of the land, asking them to rise up, to fight against the invaders, to unleash their ancient fury. You offer potent prayers, sometimes even risking forbidden incantations, pushing the boundaries of your knowledge in your desperate attempt to save your people. The anxiety here is existential, the fear that even the gods of your ancestors might be powerless against this new, overwhelming force. The chieftains, growing desperate, turn to you for solutions, for miracles. They ask about the prophecies, about hidden powers, about any means, however drastic, to repel the invaders. The pressure is immense. You are the bridge to the divine, and they expect the gods to answer through you. You feel the weight of their expectations, their hopes, their desperate pleas for salvation. You advise on scorched earth tactics, on abandoning villages to deny the Romans resources, on retreating deeper into the wilderness, trading space for time. It's a brutal choice, to abandon ancestral lands, to leave homes to be desecrated, but you understand the necessity of it for survival, the responsibility of such a directive. Knowing the pain and suffering it will cause your people is a heavy burden on your soul. One fateful day, a messenger, bruised and breathless, stumbles into the grove, bringing news of a major Roman advance. A legion, numbering thousands, is pushing towards your largest sacred site, a vast clearing dominated by a circle of ancient standing stones, where your most important annual festivals are held. This is not just a strategic target, it is a spiritual desecration. This is an attack on the very heart of your culture, your identity. You gather the remaining warriors, the elders, the few remaining initiates. There is no more room for retreat. You must make a stand here at the sacred stones. You will face them. This academic point of contention often revolves around whether Celtic tribes truly unified against the Romans or remained largely fragmented, hindering a collective defense. Your experience, however, suggests a desperate, unified stand for spiritual preservation. You lead your people to the sacred stones. The air is thick with a chilling anticipation. The sun, a blood-orange disk, begins to set, casting long, ominous shadows. The Roman legion appears on the horizon, a disciplined, gleaming wave of steel, their standards bearing the eagle, their marching rhythm a relentless, unfeeling pulse. Their arrival feels like a physical assault on the ancient, peaceful land. You stand at the center of the stone circle, your oak staff planted firmly in the earth. Around you, your warriors, their faces painted with the fierce designs of battle, their spears and swords clutched tightly, await your command. The women and children are hidden, secreted away in deep caves, their fate dependent on this final stand. You raise your staff, your voice echoing with ancient power, invoking the names of the war gods, calling upon the spirits of the ancestors to lend their strength. You bless the warriors, not just with words, but with a raw, primal energy that courses through your veins. You are no longer just a man. You are the embodiment of your people's spiritual might, their last desperate hope. The battle is a brutal, chaotic symphony of clashing steel, war cries, and the thunder of Roman boots. Your warriors fight with unmatched ferocity, fueled by their reverence for the land and their hatred for the invaders. But the Roman discipline, their numbers, their superior organization, are overwhelming. You witness acts of incredible bravery and terrible suffering. You use your healing knowledge on the front lines, pulling wounded warriors from the fray, staunching their bleeding, whispering incantations of strength. But for every one you save, 10 more fall. As the battle rages, you see the Romans, heedless of the sacred ground, begin to desecrate the standing stones, chipping away at their ancient surfaces, even attempting to topple them. A cold fury rises within you, stronger than any fear. This is not just a fight for land, it is a fight for the very soul of your people. You know, deep in your heart, that this battle cannot be won by physical might alone. You must appeal to a deeper power. You turn to the very earth beneath your feet, to the spirits of the ancient grove, unleashing a raw, primal invocation, a desperate plea for divine intervention. The air around you thickens, the wind howls, and for a moment, the very stones seem to tremble. It is a terrifying, exhilarating surge of power, a connection to something vast and untamed. The Roman advance continues, relentless and unfeeling. The sacred grove is ablaze with the fires of battle, its ancient peace shattered by the cries of war. The brutal responsibility of being a druid, of holding the spiritual destiny of your people in your hands, has never felt heavier, more terrifyingly real. You are fighting not just for survival, but for the very essence of who your people are. And as the Roman legions press forward, you know that the true test of your ancient wisdom, your enduring spirit, has only just begun. The clash of steel, the roar of battle, the acrid scent of Roman campfires, these sensations assault you, even as you stand at the heart of the sacred stone circle. The serenity of the grove is shattered, replaced by the brutal reality of a war for survival. You are no longer just interpreting omens. You are witnessing your world crumble before your eyes. The anxiety that has been your constant companion sharpens into a fierce, cold resolve. You, a druid, are the spiritual guardian of your people, and you will not abandon them, even as the Roman tide threatens to engulf everything. The battle for the sacred grove is a desperate, bloody affair. Your Celtic warriors, fueled by a primal ferocity and the blessings you bestowed, fight with a furious bravery that astounds even the disciplined Romans. They launch themselves against the legionaries, their woad-painted bodies a blur of motion, their shouts echoing the cries of their ancestors. But the Romans are a relentless, unfeeling machine. Their tightly packed shield walls advance, their gladius swords flashing with lethal efficiency. You see your people fall, their lifeblood seeping into the sacred earth, staining the very ground you have sworn to protect. You move through the fringes of the battle, your oak staff a symbol of defiance rather than a weapon. Your role here is not to fight with steel, but with spirit. You tend to the wounded, your hands moving swiftly to staunch bleeding with crushed herbs, to set broken bones with practiced precision. You whisper ancient incantations, not just for healing, but for courage, for strength, for the swift passage of those who fall. You see the pain in their eyes, the terror, the unwavering spirit, and it fuels your determination. The sight of your warriors, their faces grim but resolute, holding back an impossible tide, fills you with both profound sorrow and fierce pride. One particular, unique detail of the Roman strategy becomes painfully clear: their systematic destruction of sacred Celtic sites. While the battle rages, you see groups of legionaries detached from the main fight, deliberately targeting the ancient standing stones, attempting to topple them, to deface them with their iron tools. They are not merely clearing ground. They are attempting to erase your spiritual connection to the land. This deliberate desecration, a direct assault on the heart of your beliefs, fills you with a cold, righteous fury. It's like watching someone systematically dismantle your family's oldest, most cherished heirlooms, knowing they will never be whole again. Historians still debate the extent to which Roman destruction of Celtic sacred sites was purely strategic or also driven by a genuine Roman religious intolerance for what they perceived as barbaric practices. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long, grotesque shadows across the blood-soaked grove, it becomes clear that the battle is lost. Your warriors, though fighting to the last, are simply too few, too outmatched. The Roman legion pours into the clearing, their triumphant shouts echoing over the cries of your fallen. They set about methodically securing the area, their movements precise and unfeeling. You know you cannot allow the sacred knowledge to fall into their hands. The vast oral tradition, the rituals, the prophecies, the healing lore, it must be preserved. Your life and the knowledge you carry is now paramount. As the Romans consolidate their hold on the grove, you turn and slip away, melting into the deeper shadows of the forest, your heart heavy with the agony of defeat, but resolute in your duty. You are a survivor, a living repository of your people's soul. The next few weeks are a blur of desperate evasion. You become a phantom in your own land, moving through the forests like a hunted animal. You utilize every ounce of your training tracking skills, knowledge of edible plants, the ability to disappear into the natural landscape. You sleep in hidden hollows, drink from secret springs, and eat what you can forage. The forest, once your sanctuary, is now a refuge, a shield against a relentless enemy. But the Romans are not content with mere military victory. They systematically hunt down the surviving Celtic leaders, the chieftains, the warriors, and especially the Druids. They understand that to truly conquer a people, you must break their spirit, and that means eliminating their spiritual leaders. You hear whispers of their brutal tactics, villages burned, sacred sites desecrated, captives tortured for information. The anxiety of capture is a constant, suffocating presence, urging you to be ever more cautious, ever more elusive. You encounter scattered remnants of your people, small groups of frightened villagers, disoriented warriors, desperate families. You offer what comfort and healing you can, sharing your meager provisions, whispering words of hope and resilience. You perform simple blessings, small rituals to rekindle their spirits. But you cannot stay with them for long. Your presence would put them at risk. You are a solitary guardian, burdened by the weight of an entire culture. One chilling day, you narrowly escape a Roman patrol. You are resting in a small, concealed hollow, listening to the subtle sounds of the forest, when you hear the unmistakable clank of Roman armor, the guttural commands of their officers. You press yourself deeper into the earth, barely breathing, your heart hammering against your ribs. They pass within feet of your hiding place, their heavy boots crushing the leaves, their voices cold and alien. When they are finally gone, the silence that follows is deafening, leaving you trembling with a renewed sense of your own vulnerability. The constant threat of being discovered, of facing the brutal Roman interrogators, is a relentless source of anxiety. You begin to recognize a pattern in their movements. The Romans are systematically building roads, cutting swaths through the ancient forests, erecting watchtowers. This popular historical fact of Roman road building for military control and communication is evident everywhere. These roads, so efficient for them, are open wounds on the land for you. They desecrate the spirits of the wild, disrupting the ancient pathways of animals and unseen beings. You feel the pain of the land, a profound sorrow that mirrors your own. You realize that your purpose has shifted. It is no longer about advising chieftains or winning battles. It is about preservation, about ensuring that the flame of druidic knowledge, the essence of your people's identity, does not die out completely. You begin to seek out other surviving druids, if any, moving stealthily through the conquered lands, driven by an urgent need to reconnect, to share the burden of this immense spiritual responsibility. Your search leads you to a desolate, boggy wasteland, a place of grim beauty where the ground swallows sound and the mist clings perpetually. This is a place shunned by most, but revered by Druids for its ancient, untamed power. Here, you find faint signs of other presences, subtle markers understood only by those initiated into the sacred lore, a strangely carved piece of bog oak, a specific arrangement of stones. This unique detail of Druids using natural, often forbidding, landscapes as hidden meeting places or sanctuaries, known only through their esoteric knowledge, showcases their profound connection to the wilderness. It's like a secret language written by the land itself. Finally, after weeks of solitary wandering, you find them. A small, ragged group of surviving Druids, their faces grim, their eyes weary but resolute. They are hidden in a carefully concealed encampment, surrounded by the swirling mists of the bog. Among them is Maeve, your unyielding teacher, her white hair now streaked with mud, but her gaze still as sharp as ever. The reunion is one of shared sorrow and a desperate, fragile hope. You share your experiences, the brutal truths of the Roman conquest, the desecration of the sacred grove. You recount the knowledge you gained, the insights into Lady Aurelia Atreides from your dream in the last prompt. Oops, that was the last story. Let's keep this one focused on the current topic. No. You recount the desperation of the battle, the systematic destruction of sacred sites, the chilling efficiency of the Roman war machine. Maeve listens intently, her expression grim. The times are dark, she finally says, her voice hoarse but firm. Our ancient ways are under siege, but the flame of knowledge must not be extinguished. We are the keepers of the past and the hope of the future. Your new purpose becomes clear: the preservation of your culture, no matter the cost. You gather with the other surviving Druids, sharing fragmented pieces of oral tradition that each of you has managed to save. You recite ancient sagas, reteach forgotten rituals, piece together shattered prophecies. It's a desperate act of cultural preservation, carried out under the constant shadow of Roman occupation. The anxiety of this work is immense. You are operating in secrecy, always aware that a single betrayal, a careless whisper, could lead to the complete eradication of your order. You teach the younger apprentices, those few who manage to escape, with a renewed urgency, knowing that every piece of knowledge passed down is a victory against the relentless tide of Romanization. You stress the importance of the oral tradition, emphasizing that their minds are now the last bastion against oblivion. You also begin to subtly sow seeds of resistance, not with open rebellion, but with whispers of hope, with interpretations of omens that suggest a future resurgence, however distant. You maintain contact with the few remaining hidden chieftains, offering spiritual guidance, urging patience, resilience, and the quiet cultivation of defiance. This academic point of contention surrounds the nature of Druidic resistance to Rome. Was it active, violent rebellion, or a more subtle, spiritual and cultural defiance? Your role now embodies the latter. Your life is one of constant movement, of living on the edge, always one step ahead of the relentless Roman patrols. You are a shadow, a whisper, a keeper of ancient flames in a world consumed by Roman fire. The burden of being a Druid in this brutal, conquered land is heavier than ever, but your resolve is unwavering. You carry the collective soul of your people, hidden within your mind, a silent beacon of hope in a world shrouded in despair. The anxiety is your constant companion, but so is the profound purpose of your sacred, brutal responsibility. The mists of the bog, once a comforting veil, now seem to cling to you like a shroud, mirroring the heavy cloud of despair that threatens to engulf your spirit. The news from the outside world, brought by the few brave souls who dare to venture beyond the Roman garrisons, is grim. More sacred groves are felled, more standing stones toppled, more villages forcibly relocated. The relentless Roman advance is not merely a military occupation, it is a systematic eradication of your people's way of life, and with it, the very essence of your Druidic existence. The anxiety, once about individual survival, has deepened into a profound, soul-crushing dread for the fate of your entire culture. You gather with the other surviving Druids, their faces etched with the same weariness that gnaws at your own soul. Maeve, your formidable teacher, her eyes still sharp despite the sorrow, leads your clandestine community. Your days are now dedicated to a grim, urgent task preserving the fragments of your shattered heritage. You spend endless hours in hushed tones, reciting ancient sagas that speak of a time before Roman boots defiled your sacred earth. You painstakingly reconstruct forgotten rituals, piece together fractured prophecies, and meticulously recount the genealogies of kings and heroes, ensuring that not a single name, not a single story, is lost to the encroaching darkness. This process of oral preservation is physically and mentally exhausting. Each memory you evoke, each story you tell, is a defiant act against oblivion, but the sheer volume of knowledge, once a source of pride, now feels like an unbearable weight. You constantly battle the creeping fear of forgetting, of misremembering a crucial detail that could forever alter a prophecy or invalidate a sacred law. Your mind, once a vast ocean of lore, now feels like a sieve, desperately trying to hold on to every precious drop. This academic point of contention often arises when studying oral traditions under duress. How much cultural knowledge is truly lost when a society loses its written records or its dedicated memorizers under foreign conquest? The Roman presence is everywhere. Their patrols range far and wide, searching not just for rebels, but specifically for Druids. They understand that you are the heart of Celtic resistance, the living embodiment of the spirit they seek to crush. You hear chilling tales of Druids being hunted, captured, and executed with brutal efficiency, often in public displays designed to instill terror and break the will of the populace. This popular historical fact of Roman persecution of Druids, viewing them as subversive figures who incited rebellion, is well documented and forms a dark chapter in Celtic history. The threat of torture, of forced conversion, of a public, humiliating death is a constant, icy breath on your neck. Your movements are now dictated by extreme caution. You rarely venture beyond the protective mists of the bog, relying on a small network of loyal, brave scouts to bring you news and necessary supplies. Even these exchanges are fraught with peril, conducted under the cloak of night in remote, prearranged locations. You have learned to read the subtle signs of Roman activity, the faint scent of their specific kind of leather, the distinctive sound of their marching cadence carried on the wind, the unsettling silence of a forest where animals have fled from their patrols. Every shadow is a potential threat, every rustle of leaves a possible Roman ambush. The anxiety of capture is a palpable, suffocating fear. One particularly harsh winter, resources grow scarce. The bog, while a safe haven, offers little sustenance. Illness begins to spread through your small, hidden community. You, as the primary healer, work tirelessly, concocting remedies from the few available bog plants, administering blessings, and doing what you can to ease the suffering. But your supplies are limited, and your knowledge, vast as it is, cannot conjure food from thin air or warmth from the biting wind. The brutal responsibility of watching your people weaken, of being unable to fully alleviate their suffering, is a relentless torment. You feel every cough, every shiver, every pang of hunger as if it were your own. You are forced to make a harrowing decision, To survive, to continue the preservation of knowledge, you need certain rare herbs that only grow in the deeper, more ancient forests, now firmly under Roman control. It is a suicide mission, a foray into the very heart of the enemy's territory. You know the risks. You might not return. But the alternative, watching your community slowly succumb to hunger and disease, is unthinkable. The anxiety of this deliberate act of self-exposure, of walking directly into the lion's den, is almost unbearable. You prepare for the journey in solemn silence. Maeve offers a grim blessing, her eyes reflecting the same understanding of the immense risk you are undertaking. You choose your disguise carefully, the simple, drab clothing of a lone, desperate foraging woman, her face smudged with dirt, her hair unkempt. It's a guise of vulnerability, designed to elicit pity, or at least indifference, from any Roman soldiers you might encounter. This unique detail of Druids adapting to highly specific disguises, far from their traditional scholarly appearance, showcases their desperate resourcefulness under persecution. It's a far cry from the majestic robes of your former life. You look in a murky puddle, seeing not yourself, but a gaunt, unremarkable figure, a ghost in your own land. You slip from the hidden encampment under the cover of a dense, swirling fog, the cold dampness seeping into your bones. The silence of the bog is profound, broken only by the squelch of your boots in the mud. As you leave the mists behind, the landscape changes. The ancient untamed forests are now scarred by Roman roads, dotted with their crude watchtowers. The air carries the faint, unsettling scent of burning wood and Roman cooking fires. Every shadow, every movement in the periphery of your vision sends a jolt of fear through you. You move with agonizing slowness, relying on every ounce of your tracking and stealth training. You avoid the roads, choosing to navigate the tangled undergrowth, the forgotten deer paths. You cling to the darkest parts of the forest, using the dense foliage as cover. You hear the distant shouts of Roman patrols, the clang of their armor, the bark of their tracking dogs. Your heart pounds, a frantic drum in your chest, but you force yourself to remain calm, to control your breathing, to blend into the natural world. You reach the area where the rare herbs grow, a secluded valley untouched by Roman axes. The plants are there, nestled among ancient rocks, their leaves vibrant green even in the winter chill. You work quickly, silently, carefully harvesting the precious herbs, your hands moving with practiced efficiency the entire time. Your senses are on high alert, straining for any sign of danger. As you are about to leave, a twig snaps nearby. Your blood runs cold. You freeze, pressing yourself against the cold rock, your hand instinctively reaching for the small, concealed blade you carry. A Roman patrol, 2 soldiers, their faces grim, their eyes scanning the forest. They are close, too close. You can hear their heavy breathing, the creak of their leather. One of them points in your direction. "Did you hear that over there?" Your heart leaps into your throat. This is it. You prepare yourself for the inevitable. You consider fighting, but you are outmatched, alone. You consider surrendering, but the thought of the tortures, the interrogations, the forced revelation of your community's hiding place is a fate worse than death. The anxiety is a paralyzing wave, but a flicker of defiance, of fierce Celtic pride, ignites within you. But then, as the soldiers take a step closer, a piercing shriek echoes through the valley. Not human, a wildcat. Its cry is sharp, sudden, coming from another direction, deeper in the woods. The soldiers pause, their attention diverted. They exchange glances. "Just a cat," one mutters, clearly annoyed. Let's move on. This forest gives me the creeps. They turn and continue their patrol, moving away from your hiding place, their voices fading into the distance. You remain frozen, barely breathing, until their sounds are completely gone. The relief that washes over you is immense, an almost dizzying wave that leaves you weak-kneed, a narrow escape, a fluke, or perhaps a divine intervention, a subtle sign from the animal spirits of the wild. Scholars still debate the specific role of animals in Celtic spiritual beliefs, and whether Druids actively believed they could influence such occurrences. You make your way back to the bog, your footsteps hurried, fueled by a renewed sense of purpose and a profound gratitude for your unexpected salvation. You carry the precious herbs, the lifeblood of your community, knowing that every step is a defiance, every breath a victory. Back in the relative safety of the bog, you present the herbs to Maeve. Her eyes, usually so stoic, soften with a flicker of relief. You immediately set about preparing remedies, your hands working tirelessly, driven by the desperate need to heal your ailing community. The sick begin to recover, slowly, painfully, but they recover. You have, for now, held back the tide of despair, both physical and spiritual. But the reprieve is temporary. The Romans are relentless. Their shadow looms larger every day. You know that simply surviving, simply preserving the knowledge in secret, is not enough. The anxiety of a druid in a conquered land is the anxiety of a living ember in a world determined to extinguish it. You must find a way to not just survive, but to endure, to ensure that the flame of Celtic identity, the ancient spirit of your people, will one day rise again from the ashes. This is your brutal, sacred responsibility now, to be the unseen root, the quiet keeper of a vanishing world, waiting for the time of resurgence. The biting wind whipping across the bog, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant Roman smoke, feels like a constant reminder of your precarious existence. You and the scattered remnants of your druidic order are living on borrowed time. Each day, a quiet defiance against the relentless Roman tide. The anxiety, once a sharp sting, has settled into a dull, persistent ache, a background hum to your every waking moment. You are the living embodiment of a vanishing world, and the weight of that responsibility is a crushing burden. Your days are a meticulous dance of survival and preservation. You spend countless hours in hushed tones with Maeve and the other elder druids, sifting through the vast tapestry of oral tradition. You recount ancient prophecies, reenact forgotten rituals, and painstakingly verify genealogies, ensuring that every word, every nuance, is perfectly remembered. The younger apprentices, those few who escaped the Roman onslaught, listen intently, their young minds becoming the new vessels for your people's precious heritage. You watch them, a fragile hope flickering in your heart, knowing that their memory is the last bastion against total oblivion. This popular historical fact of Druids transmitting knowledge solely through oral tradition highlights the immense fragility of their cultural survival once their teaching centers were destroyed. The Roman suppression of Druids is not just about conquest. It's a systematic eradication of identity. You hear reports of Roman governors issuing decrees outlawing Druidic practices, punishing anyone caught performing rituals or even possessing traditional symbols. Their intelligence network, though less mystical than your own, is efficient and brutal. Informers are everywhere, eager to trade information for Roman favor or coin. This makes every interaction, every whispered conversation, a potential trap. The anxiety of betrayal, of being sold out by a frightened or greedy villager, is a constant, gnawing dread. You trust only your fellow surviving druids. And even then, discretion is paramount. You learn that the Romans are particularly keen on capturing Druids for a specific, chilling purpose: public spectacles. They aim to break the spirit of the Celtic people by humiliating and executing their spiritual leaders in grand, often horrific ways. You've heard whispers of Druids being burned alive in wicker effigies, or forced to renounce their gods before being thrown to wild beasts in amphitheaters built on desecrated sacred ground. This unique detail of Roman spectacle and public execution as a tool of psychological warfare against the Druids underscores the extreme brutality of their persecution. Imagine the absolute terror of knowing your capture means not just death, but a grotesque, public mockery of everything you hold sacred. One day, a scout returns from the edge of the bog, his face pale with terror. He brings news of a large Roman expedition, led by a particularly brutal general, systematically sweeping through the surrounding forests, burning anything that could offer cover, and interrogating any locals they find. Their objective to completely eradicate the remaining pockets of Druidic resistance. They are closer than ever before, their methodical approach a chilling testament to their determination. Panic ripples through your small community. The bog, once your sanctuary, now feels like a trap. There's no deeper place to hide. You must move. But where the lands are either conquered or too far, too perilous to reach with your dwindling supplies and weakened numbers, the anxiety of imminent discovery, of having your entire community exposed, is a suffocating weight. Maeve, her face grim, calls a council. "We must disperse," she declares, her voice low but firm. To stay together is to invite total annihilation. We will scatter, each carrying a portion of our sacred knowledge. We will become seeds, buried deep, waiting for the harsh winter to pass. Your new mission is revealed. You are tasked with taking a specific, vital fragment of the oral tradition, the detailed knowledge of the ancient Celtic calendar and astronomical cycles, along with the prophecies tied to them, and preserving it, utterly alone. This knowledge is crucial for understanding the rhythms of the land, the timing of festivals, and the auspicious moments for future resurgence. Without it, your people would lose their connection to time, to the sacred flow of life. This academic point of contention often explores how much of the complex Druidic astronomical knowledge survived through oral transmission after the Roman conquest, or if much of it was lost. The thought of going back out there, alone, with the Romans actively hunting, fills you with a profound sense of dread. But this is your brutal responsibility. You are the chosen keeper of this specific flame. You will become a living calendar, a walking almanac, carrying the very essence of your people's understanding of time and destiny. Maeve provides you with what little remains of your community's resources: a small pouch of dried herbs, a single, rough woolen blanket, and a crude map, drawn by memory, detailing ancient, forgotten pathways through the deepest, most treacherous forests, pathways that even the Romans, with their straight roads, would struggle to find. "Go west," she instructs, her voice strained with emotion. "Seek the forgotten hills, the places where the earth still breathes the old ways. Find a hidden cave, a secluded valley, and wait. Wait for the whispers of resurgence. Guard this knowledge with your life." You bid farewell to Maeve and the other surviving Druids, each parting a silent, tearful acknowledgement of the immense risk and the profound uncertainty of ever meeting again. Each goes their separate way, a tiny ember scattering into the vast, hostile darkness, carrying a piece of a dying culture. The loneliness of this individual burden is immense, a crushing weight that makes your heart ache. You begin your journey under the cloak of night, moving silently through the bog, then into the scarred, Roman-occupied forests. The silence is profound, broken only by the rustle of your own footsteps and the frantic pounding of your heart. Every shadow seems to hold a hidden Roman patrol, every distant sound a sign of imminent discovery. The anxiety of being alone, utterly dependent on your own cunning and resilience, is a constant companion. You utilize every ounce of your training. You move like a phantom, leaving no discernible tracks. You forage for sustenance, relying on your vast knowledge of edible plants and roots. You find temporary shelter in hidden hollows, beneath fallen logs, or deep within dense thickets. You learn to sleep lightly, every nerve attuned to the subtle sounds of the forest, ready to awaken at the slightest hint of danger. Days turn into weeks. The journey is arduous, marked by hunger, thirst, and the biting cold of the early winter. You often spend hours pressed against the freezing earth, listening to Roman patrols pass by, their voices and the clang of their armor chillingly close. You see the true scale of their occupation. Vast clear-cut areas where ancient forests once stood, Roman camps dotting the landscape, their watchfires burning like malevolent eyes in the darkness. The brutal efficiency of their conquest is a constant, visible pain. One particularly terrifying night, you stumble upon a fresh Roman encampment. They are settling in for the night, their fires blazing, their sentries posted. You are so close, you can hear their rough laughter, smell their cooking fires. Your first instinct is to flee, to retreat into the deeper woods. But then, you see something that makes you freeze. On a large, makeshift wooden sign at the edge of the camp, crudely drawn, is a symbol, a stylized oak tree with its roots severed, and beneath it, a smaller, almost childish drawing of a stylized sun with no rays. This unique detail of Roman propaganda through crude drawings and symbols, designed to demoralize conquered populations by visually representing the death of their traditions, speaks to their psychological warfare. It's a direct insult to everything you, as a Druid, hold sacred, a visceral image of their intent to extinguish your sun, your very light. A cold fury replaces your fear. They are not just conquering, they are mocking. They are celebrating the systematic destruction of your world. This image galvanizes your resolve. You cannot let them win. You cannot let the sun of your people be extinguished. You will carry this knowledge, this ancient calendar, this connection to the cosmos, to the ends of the earth if necessary. You detour around the camp, putting as much distance between you and the Romans as possible. The sight of their crude propaganda fuels your determination. You press on, pushing past the exhaustion, the hunger, the gnawing anxiety, driven by the sacred trust placed upon you. You finally reach the forgotten hills, a rugged, untamed landscape far from the Roman roads. Here, the land still feels wild, its ancient spirit largely untouched. You spend days searching, using your deep knowledge of the land, your intuition, and subtle signs known only to Druids, until you find it a hidden cave, its entrance obscured by a cascade of thick ivy and a cluster of ancient yew trees. The air inside is cool, damp, and utterly silent. It feels like a natural sanctuary, a womb in the earth. This cave will be your new home, your sanctuary, your secret library. You begin the arduous task of making it habitable, clearing away debris, creating a small, concealed fire pit, and establishing a secure, hidden space for your meager possessions. The anxiety of being discovered, even here, in this remote haven, remains. You meticulously conceal your tracks, ensuring no one, Roman or otherwise, could possibly stumble upon your refuge. Each day, you practice the ancient calendar and astronomical cycles, reciting the names of the stars, tracing the phases of the moon, visualizing the intricate movements of the celestial sphere. You perform small, solitary rituals to honor the spirits of this new land, seeking their protection and guidance. You are alone, utterly alone. But you are not empty. You carry the vast living knowledge of your people within you, a precious, vulnerable flame in the heart of a darkening world. The long nights are spent gazing at the stars from the cave's mouth, their familiar patterns a comforting presence in a world of chaos. You whisper the names of the constellations, the ancient prophecies, ensuring their flawless preservation in your mind. The anxiety of being a druid in this brutal, conquered land is a permanent fixture now, but it is tempered by the profound purpose that burns within you. You are the unseen root, the quiet keeper of a vanishing world, waiting for the time when the ancient sun will rise again, guided by the very knowledge you so painstakingly protect. The years in the hidden cave stretch out, each one a testament to your unwavering dedication and the brutal responsibility you carry. The initial terror of Roman patrols has receded, replaced by a constant, low thrum of vigilance. You have become one with the forgotten hills, a silent guardian of ancient wisdom. Your existence a quiet act of defiance against the relentless march of Roman conquest. The anxiety is no longer a paralyzing fear, but a honed instinct, a subtle awareness of every rustle in the leaves, every distant sound that might betray your presence. Your days are a rhythm of purposeful solitude. You spend hours meticulously reviewing the vast oral calendar and astronomical cycles, tracing the paths of stars, charting the phases of the moon. Your mind is the last, perfect repository of this knowledge, and you treat it with reverent care. You draw intricate diagrams on the cave walls with charcoal, mapping constellations and planetary movements, not to record them permanently, but to aid your memory, to ensure absolute precision. This unique detail of using temporary visual aids to reinforce an oral tradition, knowing that the ultimate storage is within the mind, highlights the ingenious methods Druids likely employed to manage vast amounts of complex information without writing. You continue your solitary rituals, offering quiet prayers to the spirits of the land, seeking guidance from the ancient ones. The cave, once a mere refuge, has become your personal sacred grove, a place where the veil between worlds feels thin, where the whispers of the past are almost audible. You forage for sustenance, relying solely on your profound knowledge of the wild, and when supplies run dangerously low, you venture out, always under the cloak of deepest night, moving with the silent grace of a seasoned hunter. The cold bite of hunger, the raw ache of solitude, these are constant companions, hardening your resolve. The news from the outside world is scarce, filtered through the rare, desperate wanderers who sometimes stumble upon your hidden valley. They speak of the Roman peace, a peace enforced by legions and iron-fisted rule. They speak of temples to Roman gods rising in conquered towns, of Celtic customs being suppressed, of a new generation growing up speaking Latin instead of the old tongue. This brings a fresh wave of despair, a chilling realization of the success of the Romanization. Your people, once fierce and free, are being slowly, inexorably absorbed. But you also hear whispers, fragmented tales carried on the wind, of small, flickering embers of resistance. A chieftain's son who refuses to speak Latin, a clandestine gathering in a remote forest clearing, where ancient songs are sung in hushed tones, a subtle act of defiance, like the purposeful misinterpretation of a Roman decree by a village elder. These small acts of defiance, often dismissed by the Romans as mere banditry or superstition, are the very sparks that keep your hope alive. This academic point of contention often revolves around the true nature and scale of Celtic resistance. Post-conquest, was it organized and widespread, or largely localized and fragmented acts of cultural preservation? Your experience suggests the latter, a quiet, enduring defiance. Your role now shifts from pure preservation to patient, subtle nurturing. You realize that your knowledge, particularly of the calendar and prophecies, can become a source of hidden power, a quiet tool for future resurgence. You begin to interpret the astronomical cycles not just for planting, but for understanding the long ebb and flow of empires, the rise and fall of civilizations. You search for signs of the turning of the wheel, the auspicious alignment that might signal a time for your people to reclaim their spirit. One crisp autumn night, as you are observing a rare celestial alignment, the constellations shimmering with unusual brilliance, you feel a surge of energy, a profound spiritual connection. The whispers of the ancient ones are clear now, not in words, but in a deep, intuitive knowing. A time of subtle change is approaching, not a time for open rebellion, but for the quiet sowing of seeds, for the clandestine reawakening of the old ways. This isn't a direct command, but a powerful, undeniable feeling, guiding your next steps. The anxiety of uncertainty is replaced by the daunting anxiety of proactive responsibility. You realize you cannot remain hidden forever. To truly nurture the embers of resistance, to share the knowledge that might guide your people, you must venture out, not in open defiance, but in carefully orchestrated acts of subtle influence. You begin to make short, clandestine journeys to the fringes of Roman-occupied territories, to the more remote villages where the old tongue is still spoken, where the memory of the Druids has not yet completely faded. You adopt a new persona, a subtle evolution of your previous disguises. You become the wandering weaver, a solitary figure who travels between remote settlements, ostensibly selling finely crafted woolen goods. Your loom, a small, portable affair, becomes your cover, its rhythmic clack-clack a comforting, ordinary sound. But within the patterns of your weaving, you subtly embed ancient Celtic symbols, almost imperceptible to the untrained eye, but recognizable to those who remember the old ways. This popular historical fact of conquered peoples using subtle cultural markers in their crafts to maintain identity is seen across many historical periods. It's like a secret handshake woven into cloth. Your anxiety in this new role is multifaceted. You are constantly balancing the need for discretion with the desire to reconnect. You must appear harmless, unassuming, a simple artisan. But beneath that exterior, you are keenly observing, listening, searching for signs of receptiveness, for those who yearn for the old ways. You carry with you small, dried bundles of sacred herbs, subtly offering them as healing remedies, along with quiet, reassuring words drawn from ancient lore. One day, you arrive at a small, isolated village, clinging to the edge of a vast forest. The Roman presence here is minimal, but the people are subdued, their faces etched with resignation. As you set up your loom in the village square, you begin to weave, subtly incorporating the ancient spiral design of the sun, a symbol of hope and eternal renewal. You watch the villagers from the corner of your eye. An elderly woman approaches your stall, her face a roadmap of sorrow. She picks up a woven piece, her fingers tracing the subtle design. Her eyes meet yours, and in them you see a flicker of recognition, a longing for something lost. "This pattern," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "It reminds me of the stories my grandmother told." You nod, your gaze calm and steady. "The old stories never truly die. Elder," you reply, your voice a low, soothing murmur. "They merely sleep, waiting for the right season to awaken." You then subtly shift the conversation, weaving in fragmented prophecies about the return of the sun, about the long winter giving way to a new spring. You speak not of rebellion, but of resilience, of the enduring spirit of the land, of the hidden strength within their own heritage. You offer her a small, dried sprig of mistletoe, disguised as a charm for good luck, but infused with your own quiet blessings. Her eyes widen, and a faint spark of hope ignites within them. This act, seemingly small, is a profound act of spiritual resistance. The anxiety of these encounters is immense. You are treading a fine line, seeking to inspire hope without inciting overt rebellion that would draw the swift, brutal hand of Rome. You are a whisper, not a shout. You understand that your role is to nurture the deep roots of Celtic identity, to prepare the ground for a resurgence that may not come for generations. It is a monumental task, demanding infinite patience and unwavering faith. You hear stories of other Roman generals, particularly those in distant lands, who are even more zealous in their persecution of Druids, believing them to be inherently dangerous instigators. This reinforces your need for absolute stealth and subtle influence. Your goal is not open conflict, but quiet, cultural persistence. Your life becomes a solitary pilgrimage, moving from village to village, leaving behind subtle seeds of hope, woven into cloth, whispered in remedies, or hinted at in ancient stories. You carry the burden of the past and the fragile hope of the future, a living bridge between a vanishing world and a dream yet to be realized. The anxiety of this brutal responsibility is constant, but it is now intertwined with a profound sense of purpose. You are the unseen roots, the silent keeper of the flame, ensuring that when the time is right, the sun will indeed rise again over the ancient Celtic lands. The rhythm of your life has become a silent, enduring pilgrimage. The winding paths through Roman-occupied lands, the hushed conversations in isolated villages, the constant awareness of watchful eyes, these are the fabric of your existence. The anxiety, once a raw, visceral fear, has matured into a deep-seated caution, a permanent hum beneath your skin. You are the wandering weaver, a seemingly harmless artisan, but beneath the rough wool of your cloak beats the heart of a druid, a silent guardian of a culture under siege. Your movements are dictated by the scarce news of Roman patrols and the faint whispers of enduring Celtic spirit. You learn to read the subtle signs of Roman authority, the exact placement of a standard, the cleanliness of a road, the types of goods traded in the markets, all indicators of their degree of control. In response, you adjust your routes, seeking out the forgotten byways, the villages nestled deep in valleys where the old tongue is still spoken with less fear. Your craft, the weaving, becomes a metaphor for your mission, piecing together the threads of a broken culture, stitch by careful stitch. You actively seek out those who still remember, those who carry the spark of the old ways. You find them in the gnarled hands of elderly women who hum forgotten lullabies, in the defiant eyes of young men who secretly practice ancestral martial forms, in the hushed tales told around a dying fire. To these souls, you offer not overt rebellion, but subtle sustenance. You share fragments of ancient wisdom, disguised as folk tales or practical advice. You reveal hidden meanings in the patterns of your weaving, symbols of resilience and renewal that speak directly to their yearning for identity. This unique detail of using everyday crafts and seemingly innocuous interactions to transmit vital cultural and spiritual information showcases the deep adaptability of Druidic practices under persecution. It's like a secret language embedded in the very fabric of their daily lives. The risk remains constant. You know the Romans view any lingering Celtic tradition, especially those connected to Druids, as a threat to their imperial order. You hear chilling accounts of how their agents infiltrate communities, posing as friendly travelers or even sympathetic locals to ferret out those who cling to the old ways. This makes every new face a potential betrayer, every seemingly innocent conversation a possible interrogation. The anxiety of exposing yourself, or worse, inadvertently leading the Romans to a pocket of resistance, is a heavy burden. You are alone, utterly reliant on your own judgment. One bitter winter, a virulent plague sweeps through the isolated villages. The Roman authorities, concerned primarily with their own garrisons, offer little aid. Your medical knowledge, painstakingly memorized during your apprenticeship, becomes invaluable. You concoct healing teas from dried herbs you carry. You administer ancient blessings to ease suffering, and you offer what little comfort you can. You are their only hope, their only connection to a healing power that transcends Roman medicine. The brutal responsibility of facing widespread suffering, of choosing who to help with your limited resources, is a profound moral torment. You witness death firsthand, again and again, and the helplessness you feel is a sharp, agonizing pang. During this time of crisis, you encounter a young boy, no older than 7, his eyes burning with fever. His family is distraught, having lost several kin to the sickness. As you tend to him, whispering ancient healing incantations, you notice a peculiar birthmark on his chest, a spiral similar to the ancient Celtic sun symbol, but reversed. You recall a particular ancient prophecy from the calendar lore you guard so carefully. When the sun turns its face from the dawn, a new light shall rise from the depths, marked by the twisted star. It's a cryptic prophecy, often interpreted as signifying a dark period, followed by a powerful, unexpected resurgence. This boy, with his reversed sun mark, could be the fulfillment of that prophecy. Academics still debate the nature of such chosen one prophecies within Celtic lore, and whether they were literal predictions or symbolic narratives of hope during times of oppression. A profound sense of awe, mixed with a renewed wave of anxiety, washes over you. This isn't just about preserving knowledge anymore. It's about nurturing a potential future. This boy, if he survives, might be destined for greatness, a beacon for your people. You dedicate yourself to his care, using every ounce of your healing knowledge, pushing your own exhaustion aside. You spend days by his side, chanting, administering herbs, pouring all your spiritual energy into his fragile form. Slowly, miraculously, the boy recovers. His fever breaks, his breathing eases, and the light returns to his eyes. His family is overwhelmed with gratitude, seeing you not just as a healer, but as a messenger of the gods. You feel a surge of profound satisfaction, a quiet triumph against the relentless despair. But with this triumph comes a new, even heavier burden: the protection of this child, this potential vessel of prophecy, from the relentless gaze of Rome. You begin to subtly guide the boy's parents, advising them on his upbringing, subtly encouraging his connection to the natural world, his knowledge of the old tongue. You don't reveal your true identity or the full weight of the prophecy, but you ensure that he is nurtured in a way that aligns with his potential destiny. This popular historical fact of Druids playing a role in the education and spiritual guidance of potential leaders or seers within their communities underscores their deep involvement in the societal fabric. Your solitary journeys now have an added layer of urgency. You seek out other Druids, if any still survive in their hidden enclaves, to share this incredible news, to discuss the implications of the prophecy, to coordinate a strategy for nurturing this new, fragile hope. The Roman grip on the land is tightening, making these clandestine meetings ever more perilous. You arrange a meeting with a distant, rumored enclave of surviving Druids, located in a remote, inaccessible mountain pass. The journey is treacherous, filled with Roman patrols and natural dangers. You travel mostly by night, navigating by the stars you know so intimately, relying on your profound understanding of the landscape. The anxiety of capture, of failing this crucial mission to connect with your scattered brethren, is a constant companion. You finally reach the mountain pass, a desolate, wind-swept place where the air is thin and the silence profound. After days of careful tracking, following the subtle signs left only for those initiated, You find them a small, hardened group of Druids, their faces grim, their eyes reflecting years of hardship and unwavering dedication. Among them is an elder, his face weathered like ancient stone, who you recognize as a contemporary of Maeve, a master of fire lore. You share your incredible news, the prophecy, the boy with the twisted sun mark, the flicker of hope for a future resurgence. You recount the plague, the desperation, and the child's miraculous recovery. They listen in solemn silence, their faces reflecting a mix of awe and renewed determination. The news, a rare beacon of light in their long, dark winter, ignites a subtle, powerful energy within their small community. The wheel turns. The elder of fire lore finally murmurs, his voice a low rumble. The sun will rise again, from the unlikeliest of places. Your new collective mission becomes clear to prepare for the long, slow reawakening. This means not just preserving knowledge, but actively, though subtly, fostering resistance. You devise strategies for covert communication, using ancient symbols embedded in everyday objects, songs with hidden meanings, and seemingly mundane trade routes to pass information. You discuss how to nurture the spiritual flame in the new generation, how to remind them of their heritage without drawing the direct wrath of Rome. This academic point of contention often explores whether widespread, organized Druidic resistance truly persisted after major Roman victories, or if it was more fragmented cultural preservation. Your narrative suggests a quiet, resilient continuity. You return to your solitary journeys as the wandering weaver, but now with a profound shift in your spirit. The anxiety of your brutal responsibility is still immense, but it is now infused with a powerful, almost sacred purpose. You are no longer just preserving a dying past. You are actively, silently, laying the groundwork for a hopeful future. The boy with the twisted sun mark is a living prophecy, a tangible reason to endure. Your life becomes an endless tapestry of quiet acts of defiance, of subtle blessings, of whispered wisdom. You are the unseen hand guiding a lost people, the silent guardian of a future that has yet to dawn. The Roman legions may control the land, but they cannot control the spirit, or the whispers carried on the wind. And as you gaze at the stars from your hidden cave, the same stars you've charted for decades, you know that the sun, your sun, will one day rise again. The years continue their relentless march, carrying the faint echoes of Roman conquest further into the past, yet solidifying their presence across the land. Your hair, once dark and vibrant, is now streaked with the silver of countless winters spent in the hidden cave, a testament to your unwavering dedication. The lines on your face tell a story of hardship, vigilance, and the profound weight of a brutal responsibility. You are no longer just the wandering weaver. You are an elder druid, a living bridge to a vanishing past, and a quiet beacon for a future that still feels distant, yet undeniably closer. The anxiety, now an ingrained part of your being, pulses with the rhythm of the enduring Celtic spirit you tirelessly guard. Your network of whispered resistance has grown, slowly but steadily. You meet with other surviving druids and loyalists in remote, perilous locations, deep within forgotten caves, on desolate mountain peaks, or amidst the swirling mists of ancient bogs. These clandestine gatherings are vital, moments where fragmented pieces of knowledge are shared, where interpretations of omens are debated, and where the fragile embers of hope are rekindled. You share your profound astronomical knowledge, guiding them on the precise timing of festivals and the subtle turning of the celestial wheel, ensuring that the spiritual rhythm of your people remains unbroken, even under Roman oppression. This academic point of contention often discusses the actual extent of communication and coordination between various Druidic groups after the Roman conquest, with some scholars suggesting more isolation than widespread networks. You hear reports of the boy with the twisted sun mark, now growing into a strong, perceptive young man. He is unknowingly being nurtured according to your subtle guidance, his spirit awakening to the ancient ways. You feel a deep, quiet satisfaction, a sense of profound purpose that transcends your own suffering. He is the future, a living testament to your endurance. The anxiety about his safety, however, is a constant, gnawing worry, a reminder that the Romans, if they ever learned of his significance, would stop at nothing to eliminate him. The Roman Empire, though seemingly invincible, begins to show subtle cracks, whispers of internal strife, of distant barbarian raids on their borders, filter through your network. Their legions, once an endless tide, are now often stretched thin, battling threats on multiple fronts. This provides a glimmer of opportunity, a fragile hope that the grip of the invaders might one day weaken. You interpret these signs through the lens of your ancient prophecies, seeing them as the slow, inevitable turning of the great wheel, the prelude to a new dawn. Your travels as the wandering weaver become more purposeful. You seek out not just those who remember the old ways, but those who are weary of the Roman yoke, those who yearn for freedom. You subtly fan the flames of discontent, weaving tales of ancient heroes, of the glory of a free Celtic past, into the very fabric of your stories and your woven goods. You remind them of the power of their own spirits, the strength of their ancestral lands. This unique detail of Druids evolving from overt religious leaders to subtle cultural resistance figures, embedding their spiritual and national identity within everyday cultural practices, demonstrates their profound adaptability and resilience. One day, as you are weaving in a small, remote hamlet, a Roman centurion and a small patrol unexpectedly ride into the village. They are not looking for you specifically, but conducting a routine inspection, ensuring compliance with Roman law. Your heart leaps into your throat. You calmly continue your weaving, your hands steady, your face impassive. The anxiety is a cold dread, but you rely on your long-practiced composure. The centurion dismounts, his eyes sweeping over the villagers with a stern, assessing gaze. He approaches your stall, his shadow falling over your loom. "What are you weaving, old woman?" He barks, his voice rough. You look up, your eyes veiled with feigned weariness. "Just simple patterns, sir," you reply, your voice a little raspy from the cold. "To keep the cold from the bones, and a few charms for good fortune." You subtly gesture to a woven scarf, on which you've discreetly embedded a tiny, almost invisible symbol of the Celtic sun, surrounded by a pattern of interwoven knots that symbolize unity. The centurion snorts, "Superstitious nonsense. Your people cling to their old ways like burrs to a sheep's wool. It is futile. Rome is eternal." He glances dismissively at your work, clearly unimpressed by your humble craft. He is completely oblivious to the hidden message, the quiet defiance woven into the very threads. This popular historical fact of Roman authorities, often underestimating the cultural and spiritual resilience of conquered peoples, dismissing their traditions as mere superstition, proved to be one of their strategic weaknesses in fully pacifying some regions. He turns to the villagers, delivering a stern lecture about Roman law, about paying taxes, about the futility of resistance. As he speaks, you continue to weave, your fingers moving with quiet purpose. You catch the eyes of a few villagers, their faces grim, and in their gaze, you see a flicker of understanding, a shared defiance. The Roman may speak of eternal empire, but your weaving whispers of eternal spirit. As the centurion finally rides off with his patrol, The villagers slowly approach your stall, their expressions a mixture of fear and a newfound determination. They quietly buy your woven goods, their fingers lingering on the subtle symbols, their eyes meeting yours with a shared understanding. You are not just selling cloth, you are selling hope, weaving the very fabric of their cultural survival. The years of solitude, the burden of knowledge, the constant anxiety of your hidden life, they have forged you into something unbreakable. You are a living legend, even if no one knows your name. You are the unseen root of a future forest, the quiet guardian of a sun waiting to rise. Your final act of direct symbolic defiance comes as the news of a major Roman withdrawal from a distant province reaches your hidden community. It is a small victory, a faint glimmer, but a victory nonetheless. You gather the scattered Druids and loyalists in a secret, ancient clearing, a place that has remained untouched by Roman hands. Here, beneath the full moon, you lead a sacred ritual, not of sacrifice, but of renewal. You stand at the center of the clearing, your gnarled oak staff pulsing faintly with ancient energy. Around you, the faces of your fellow Druids and a few trusted chieftains are illuminated by the flickering firelight. You recite the ancient prophecies, not with despair, but with a new sense of quiet triumph. You speak of the turning of the wheel, of the long winter giving way to a new spring, of the sun rising from the darkness. You bless the ground beneath your feet, not just with words, but with a profound spiritual energy that flows from you, a silent promise of rebirth. You then take a single, carefully preserved sprig of mistletoe, an ancient symbol of life and renewal. You plant it gently into the earth, at the very center of the clearing, a silent testament to the enduring spirit of your people. This academic point of contention often arises in the interpretation of Druidic rituals. Were they purely symbolic? Or did they genuinely believe in their ability to influence the physical world and bring about change? Your belief, in this moment, is absolute. As the ritual concludes, a sense of profound peace settles over you, a calm that transcends the ever-present anxiety. You have done your part. You have carried the torch through the darkest night. You have ensured that the flame of knowledge, the spirit of your people, will never truly die. The brutal responsibility of being a Druid, of enduring unimaginable hardship and loneliness, has been fulfilled. You return to your hidden cave, the silence no longer oppressive, but comforting. You continue your meticulous charting of the stars, your recitation of the ancient calendar, your quiet communion with the spirits of the land. Your physical body may be aging, but your spirit is vibrant, alive with the knowledge that the seeds you have sown, the flame you have guarded, will one day bloom. You are a living legacy, a testament to the enduring power of a vanishing world. And so, in the mists of history, you have lived a life of heavy responsibility, a life shaped by the whispers of the jungle and the cruelty of conquerors. You have been a Druid, a guardian of ancient wisdom, a bridge between the world of men and the world of the gods. Anxiety, once a haunting specter, has become a part of your breath, a silent, constant beat in your very soul. You have witnessed devastation, endured isolation, and carried the burden of a culture on the brink. You have learned to listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart, to see what others cannot, and to believe in a future that many have abandoned. Your story is not one of great battles or glorious victories recorded in history books. It is a story of quiet resilience, of small but powerful acts performed in the dark, of protecting a fragile flame from a destructive storm. As the moonlight filters through the leaves of ancient oak trees, or as the stars twinkle in the night sky, you still whisper the ancient stories, the prophecies that have shaped your life. You are not a warrior with a sharp sword, but a guardian with a prodigious memory and an indomitable spirit. You are living proof that even in the darkest of times, knowledge and hope can survive, passed down from generation to generation. Now, as you fall asleep, know that the story of the ancient Druids still resonates, a reminder of the power of faith, of the resilience of the human spirit, and of the sometimes brutal responsibilities that history places on the shoulders of its chosen ones. Let the whispers of the jungle lull you into a deep sleep, knowing that these stories will always be there, waiting for you to wake.